Detroit Lakes, Minnesota is where Margie is. Margie, want to give a shout out to a family member on Veterans Day?
Yes. Hi, Scott. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for listening.
I just wanted to call and just reminisce just a tiny bit about my dad, Henry Fisher, who was from Auburn, North Dakota. And that's halfway in between St. Thomas and Grafton in the Red River Valley. Anyway, my dad was born April 30th, 1895, and he enlisted in the Army June 4th, 1917. So he served in World War I in France and was assigned to the 1st Gas Regiment, which working with the mustard nerve gas. His parents immigrated from Germany, so his dad wasn't real happy with him enlisting because he was certain that he was going to be shooting his uncles and cousins. And my dad did talk quite a bit about his time overseas in France, and probably his most memorable moment was on Christmas Eve when the shooting stopped and both sides, Germans and Americans, excuse me, came out of the trenches to sing Silent Night.
Wow.
And he said that the shooting didn't resume until dawn the next day. So I just wanted to share that with you. My dad was 53 when I was born.
That's incredible. That's a great story. It sure is. And, that little touch of humanity is something you remember in the middle of a very challenging time. Christmas, at least, can bring us together, most of us.
Yes.
Thanks, Margie. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Scott.
You bet. And tell me your dad's name. I should get that.
Frank Berg.
Frank Berg. Okay. Thanks, Margie. Appreciate it very much. Shout out to all the vets out there today, including one I have sitting right next to me here, David Rogers, who has been a friend that has been part of the effort to make sure that veterans have an option to get the treatment of hyperbaric oxygen, and the VA, pay for that just like they would any other medical care for our veterans. David, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Now, tell me first about your service, Navy SEAL.
Yes, sir.
First?
Youngest ever to get selected. And we have to refer to it as Navy Special Warfare Development Group, but everybody knows it as SEAL Team 6. But at the time, you just really needed to hone your skill set, and to get there at age 22, it was impossible, really. I was fortunate. Timing played a role. I was thinking about getting out. They didn't want me.
Did you want to be a SEAL, or did they want you to be a SEAL?
Well, I wanted to be a SEAL, but after I was a SEAL, after 2 deployments, I wanted more. I wanted to either be one of the best SEALs that there was, or I wanted to go out and get a college education and try something else. It was cool, but it didn't define me and didn't say, hey, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to be the rest of my life. I felt like I had to do so much more.
Generically speaking, so we don't get you in any trouble, what kind of things are SEALs doing?
Well, everybody's really familiar with Osama bin Laden takedown. Navy Special Warfare Development did that mission, and they've done, Captain Phillips was one of them. He was the the captain of the merchant marine ship that was taken. Right now, the SEALs, all part of Navy Special Warfare Development Group, as we sit here today, are the most highly decorated American warfighting, as a group, American warfighting group since the history of American warfare. They've done real well in the past 17 years. They did really well in Vietnam, and then there was a big gap where nobody even hardly knew what a SEAL was. And then now that we've been at war for 17 years, we kind of showed the world what the capabilities and just the idea of what it is to be a SEAL. SEALs don't quit, and they don't. The mission is everything. We got to accomplish the mission, and we'll whine and cry about what happened when we get back.
One thing that I would imagine, I don't know this to be true, but I would think, given the line of work, of all those deployed, doing what Navy SEALs do, you probably have a higher percentage of PTSD from that group of folks than any. I don't know if that's true or not, but
that's absolutely true. And you saw a lot of it before the war. Just the lifestyle, just what it took to be a Navy SEAL was so stressful that a lot of guys were already self-medicating and doing, it was very difficult for SEALs to stay involved in a marriage and to really focus on anything else besides being a Navy SEAL. When I went to SEAL Team 6, they said, hey, I know that most people put their God and country before, whatever else, but here, SEAL Team 6, and then God. And I never bought into that crap, but that's kind of the attitude there. Nothing's more important than being a SEAL operator at SEAL Team 6.
So talk a little bit about your journey with PTSD and trying to get treatment.
Right. Yeah. So
not easy in the traditional channels of the VA to get better with PTSD, is it?
It's not. And I was treated, for about 20 years, I've been dealing with some issues. And a lot of my issues stem from a deployment in Somalia back in '93. But after a 13-year career in the military, I went back and did some work for the State Department and the agency. And I spent about 10 years, kind of every bit of that time, probably about 70% of that time in the Middle East. And that's where I really saw a lot and saw it at a lot of different levels and really started to understand, in a way of the things that were happening and really started understanding the damage that was happening to myself and others around us, just being in the environment of a war zone and prolonged. So when I came back, my last deployment was in 2013, and what I didn't realize at the time is that my life had been spiraling out of control. I knew I was having troubles with my marriage, and that's what made 2013 March the last deployment. I came back too late, and when I stopped deploying, I stopped doing that kind of work, then I realized how much I was having issues being in everyday life. Couldn't hold a job, had all kinds of talent, education and motivation and everything I needed, but started losing my ability to really understand. And I guess in the community, they refer to it as executive function. I refer to it as reading and comprehending, time management, priorities, putting priorities first. What's the biggest priorities? But for me, it was seeing things for what they were. I in my illness it drives myself and all of us that are dealing with this into a place where we're not serving a purpose, and now we're suddenly living in this fear that's not real, but to us it's real. And yeah, it's hard for us to communicate with people. It's hard for us to trust people. It's really, my brother put it best. I have a brother that supported my career, very much. And he said, Dave, they taught you to go to war. They never taught you to come back. And right now, what I was dealing with, being that I was somebody that at 22, my executive function was off the chain. I could do things that most 22-year-olds couldn't do. But then I flash forward to 45, and I can't do even the basics. I wouldn't check my mailbox. I was just always afraid of everything. Every situation in my life that I thought that there was a negative outcome, I assumed I was going to have the negative outcome.
Now, and with all that, you're now asking for, hey, fix me. I'm all jumbled up here. Fix me. Help me. You're not getting the treatment from the VA. There's no standard treatment for that makes you better.
I was in Virginia. I was in Iowa. I was in Florida. I was constantly going to the VA saying something's not right. I got to the point where I thought I was a bad person. Like somewhere along the line, I just decided to be bad. I couldn't make rational decisions. I listened to what my wife was saying. I couldn't understand or respond to her. But it brought me personally to a point where I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live like it. And in April of 2017, I quit. I said, I'm done. It shouldn't be this hard. And I made a plan to end my life. is divine intervention that it didn't happen, obviously. But I still didn't. All I had through that experience, I went into the VA. I was seen by a team of doctors down in Tampa, and they gave me a proper diagnosis, finally. But it didn't fix the problem. Just knowing what's wrong with you, it helps. It helps you understand why you think the way you do and why you do the things you do. But the drug regimens and the talk therapy, there was no healing event. It was, hey, you are messed up, and bottom line is we're going to help you live with the new normal of where you can't understand stuff that everybody else understands, yet you're supposed to live in that society. That society rules and expects you to act a certain way according to a certain mental ability.
Another way of saying we're going to guarantee failure for you.
Yeah, it was tough, brother. It was tough. Anything I've ever put my mind to, I've done it, and I've excelled. And now all of a sudden, I was done. Man, I was done.
Back with our conversation with David Rogers, former Navy SEAL, youngest ever to join the SEALs. Talked about his journey of PTSD, talking about where you go for treatment. So the treatment hasn't worked. And now we have HBOT treatment available. We've seen this work. Mm-hmm. I have a dear friend, Rusty Ort, who was on the mat, just darn near a vegetable until somebody said, let's scan his brain. Wow, look at this brain. My gosh, he really did have an injury. We got to, and he did some deep dives, and slow but sure it came back. Now, because of the incredible generosity of Gary Tharaldson and the brilliance of
Daphne Denham.
Isn't she great?
She's wonderful.
Dr. Denham at the hyperbaric clinic in Fargo. Vets are getting treatment. Senator Kramer, Senator Hoeven, and others went to the VA and said, why the heck wouldn't you take the expertise in this center and do them together? So now they're doing a pilot project. But there's still work to do, as you found out.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. And I'll tell you, my hat's off to Gary Tharaldson, Dr. Denham, some amazing, amazing folks. And this is what we needed. This is what we need to do to help our veterans. We got to care about them. We got to think about, we look at Veterans Day, and a lot of people confuse Veterans Day and Memorial Day. We're not today remembering veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice. Today we're recognizing veterans who signed on the dotted line, not knowing if they were going to go to war, not knowing if they were going to be in peacetime the whole time. You never know. But what you said was, I love America so much that I will give you my life, whatever. You got 4 years, and if it means I come back or I don't come back, it doesn't matter. So that's the salute. And we should have a day like this for police officers. We should have a day like this for teachers. We should have a day like this for firemen and EMS and everybody else that serves, because that's what makes America great. So today on Veterans Day, think about the people who forego the Wall Street job and making billions, who just decided, hey, I want to serve. I want to serve my country. I want to teach my students. I want to protect the streets. That's what this is about. So as a community, guys like Gary Tharaldson steps in and actually makes a difference. He made a difference in my life. And in order for me to ever let him understand how much I appreciate him, I have to help other veterans. And that's the beauty of what he did by bringing this hyperbaric clinic to South Fargo.
What advice would you have for any vet that says, I think this is for me, I think I need this treatment, I want to be helped by this, to maneuver the system?
Well, okay, that's really good. I'm the first guy that has gone through the whole pipeline, all the hoops over at the VA in Fargo. And I want to shout out right now to say that the Fargo VA, the VA we have in Fargo, North Dakota, is by far the best VA that I've ever been to or heard of. It's amazing. So with them, what we're going to do, what I'm going to tell you is, if you're a veteran and you're suffering with post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury, usually traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress go hand in hand. 90-something% of the people with traumatic brain injury have associative post-traumatic stress. Now, the way the thing's written, it says you have to have post-traumatic stress. Not true. Traumatic brain injury without a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress qualifies. They say another thing in here, and 4 other states have been a part of this, and they've not succeeded because they haven't, veterans, we got to get to these guys. And I know everybody knows. I know everybody knows a veteran. And if he's having problem, and just to get through all of the red tape, can I give him my number?
Of course.
If you have a veteran, or if you're a veteran and you want to know the actual real deal about all of this, and yes, you're qualified, we can figure out how to make this happen. Call me. My name is David Rogers. My number is 701-730-9677. Again, 701-730-9677. Call me anytime. I will tell you everything you need to know to get involved in this.